allowing us to express our what's happening now with regards to the post pandemic and what the cooperatives are doing. As you know, Mr. Senator, I'd like to tell you this, that the compassion, love, and service done by the cooperatives, by the 18,581 cooperatives throughout the country, with some 11,555,000 members, have actually shown compassion, service, and love, just like a light in the darkness of COVID, Mr. Senator. Yung gusto po namin i-report na with regards nga po sa nangyari ngayong mga problema, the cooperative sector are playing a very important role this time. Ang kwan po namin is that, for example, with those who are in need. Kaya nga po, yung the seventh principle of the cooperatives po, ito concern for the community, has been showcased by the cooperative through their community development fund. Yun na nga po ang amount na nakarating sa amin, that they have actually, yung total amount that they have actually released and assisted sa kanilang mga membro and non-members have reached that much, 1.3 billion pesos po. At saka so many assistance in kind. Pero ang maganda po nito, Mr. Senator, ah, nabigyan po ng regulatory relief ang mga cooperatives, and then they were also allowed to operate even this type of pandemic. Din po ako especially yung mga nangangailangan micro, small, and medium enterprises have continued their operations, and so we are so thankful for that po, for allowing the cooperatives to continue their operations. So yun po ang part day. But,
Mr.
yeah.
I think nandito na ata ngayon si Senator Pumiri. I think he will preside. But just one follow-up, informal lang naman tayo. So you were able to track all of the activities, monitor all of the activities of the various cooperatives during this period of pandemic. So nakita niya. So siguro mas maganda ma-provide nyo rin yung committee na kung ano yung mga naging suliranin nila. Lalong-lalo na po, alam ko meron din po mga kooperatiba ng mga nurses. Meron din po mga kooperatiba nung ating mga nasa ospital, kung paano nila hinarap itong sitwasyon na ito. So just provide the committee. Senator Mix, are you now there?
Okay. Yes, thank you very much, Chairman.
Kayo po,
first of all,
mag-present ngayon. We'll just follow your committee proceedings. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Chairman Tolentino, and to all the resource persons that are here. My apologies for being late. You know, I'm in Cagayan de Oro, and I didn't realize today was the first day of classes for my children. So I had to be kicked out of my house, and I'm now in my farm. So I had to travel a significant area so that I'll be able to get good internet signal. Sinequester ng mga dalawang anak ko yung signal ko kanina. So I had to rush to another place for the meeting. But yes, thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And this is the subcommittee which was created, of course, thankfully by our chairman, Chairman Francis Tolentino, chairman of the Committee on Local Governments. He graciously agreed to allow me to host a subcommittee on this measure because in our last meeting, Chairman, just to give you an idea, we had a meeting with the cooperative sector and online with one of the major cooperatives, and they were asking me to sponsor these particular measures in the Senate as they have been already passed in the House of Representatives. But before I would proceed, I would like to also recognize our distinguished colleague, my vice chair, Ma'am Risa Ontiveros. Ma'am Risa, good to see you. And
May buntag, Majo.
Mayong Buntag, and of course, Chairman Francis Tolentino. And we'd now like to ask the committee secretary to recognize, for the record, all our guests. And of course, Senator Aimee is also with us, I believe. Sen Aimee, good morning. And Senator Bato is also joining us. I think he's with us. Good morning to all my colleagues. So may we ask the Secretary, Bernadine Mahinay, to proceed with the introduction of the resource persons. I cannot hear Berna. Maybe she's on mute. Comsec, could you please read the names of the resource persons that are with us today?
Hi, sorry about that.
Yeah,
So
okay,
from good morning. From the DILG, we have USEC Rico Judge Echeverry of the External and Legislative Affairs. From the Cooperative Development Authority, we have USEC Orlando Ravanera, together with Executive Director Ray Elevazo, Attorney Elizabeth Matonan, and Dr. Edmund Acosido. From the Department of Budget and Management, we have Director Aris Macospa and Ms. Rowena Marte. From the BLGF, we have Director Pamela Quezon and Ms. Brenda Miranda. From the Civil Service Commission, we have Attorney Ariel Ronquillo. The League of Provinces of the Philippines, we have Ms. Angelica Sanchez. From the Barangka Credit Cooperatives, we have Mr. Robert Masparina, its President and General Manager. From the CODIS Federation of Cooperatives, Professor Elenita Montalva. The President of the Liga ng mga Cooperative Development Officers of the Philippines, we have Ms. Celia Atienza. From the Parañaque Cooperative Development Office, we have Ms. Josie Salomon. And from the Tagalog Cooperative Development Center, Ms. Annabelle Tui. They're all online, Senator.
Thank you very much, Bernadine. I'd like to now just proceed with a short opening statement, if my colleagues will allow me. Good morning, everyone. I was informed earlier this month that the Cooperative Officers Bill in the House of Representatives are on advanced state already. This prompted me to write our chairman, our good chairman, Senator Francis Tolentino, to request for a subcommittee for these specific bills filed in the Senate to be constituted so that the subcommittee can help the chairman hear these bills. Senator Tolentino is one of the most active and busy members of the Senate, so I volunteered to help him shepherd this bill. We thank Chairman Tolentino for graciously acceding to our request, and he also designated this representation as chairman of the subcommittee. Thus, we immediately called for this meeting. He also informed us that well, initially he informed that he could not attend, but I'm so thankful that you're here, Chairman. I'm glad that you're here. For the record, the members of the subcommittee are also the members of the Mother Committee. Today, we will discuss 3 bills which all seek to amend local government code to make mandatory the position of cooperative officers in all provinces, cities, and municipalities. Senate Bill number 1327, filed by yours truly, and Senate Bill number 1360, filed by Senator Risa Ontiveros, and Senate Bill number 1510, filed by Senator Revilla, together. And the House Bill actually is House Bill number 5925. Currently, the said provinces, cities, and municipalities is only optional. There are local governments that do not have cooperative officers. Minsan, meron pong cooperative officer, minsan naman designated lang. Which means in a certain LGU, there's a department head or official that aside from the department he heads in the LGU, he's also the designated cooperative officer. Thus, he or she becomes part-time cooperative officer and fails to give enough attention for the efforts of our cooperatives. Isa iba naman mga local government ay wala talagang mga posisyon na ito. Ayon sa Liga ng Cooperative Development Officers ng Pilipinas or LCDOP, isang alyansa ng mga cooperative development officers sa buong bansa, as of 24th February 2020, there are only 305 LGUs which have cooperative development officers throughout the country. This number is far from the number of local government units in the Philippines. Based on the date of the DILG as of December 31, 2019, there are 81 provinces, 146 cities, and 1,488 municipalities in the country, or a total of 1,715 LGUs which are potentially having a cooperative officer, or could potentially have a cooperative officer. Cooperatives are a valuable ally of the government because they address social issues such as poverty, unemployment, income inequality, etc., at the grassroots level. And they play a vital role in the country's economy, especially in far-flung areas where the delivery of basic government services do not easily reach our people, especially the marginalized. At this time, cooperatives play an important role in distributing assistance and services to those who are very much in need due to COVID-19 pandemic. The sector has always been ready to extend whatever assistance it can to its members and immediate communities. As I mentioned earlier, the cooperative sector has a mechanism to reach out to those that the government cannot. The cooperatives just need coordination from the government at kailangan ang mga affairs at activities ng ating mga kooperatiba in every province, city, and municipality ay tugma sa development plans ng ating mga LGUs at ng national government. We have invited today resource persons from the ULAP, the League of Municipalities and Cities, Civil Service Commission, Cooperative Development Authority, the DBM, the DILG, Bureau of Local Government Finance, League of Cooperative Development Officers of the Philippines, and the cooperative sector to discuss the measures at hand. We will hear from all our stakeholders their comments on the three bills. Of course, I would like to encourage everyone to participate in today's discussion and be an active partner in dissemination of all information we learned today. However, as the day goes on, because we have several resource persons, we may have to limit. We may have to have a time limit on our resource persons so that we don't naman end up in the evening, finishing our committee hearing in the evening. And as your chairman of the committee in cooperative and the chairman of this subcommittee, we're together with Senator Risa Ontiveros, are mindful of my motto that the cooperatives are helping the Filipinos help themselves. It's really helping the Filipinos help themselves. And we really need to push this movement all over the country because, as I said earlier, they are the ones who give the services that sometimes government cannot give. And that's why we need to push for this. And we're hoping that those who are in government agencies today would heed that call and request and hopefully also recommend this measure for plenary discussion. So to open this discussion, may we ask, I'll ask first one of our vice chair or Senator Tolentino or any of the senators that are here to give also their opening statement, starting with our vice chair, Ma'am Risa. Ma'am Risa, you're recognized.
Salamat kaayo, Mr. Chair. Briefly, I'd like to thank the Senate Committee on Local Government Chair, Senator Francis of the Mother Committee, for creating this subcommittee on cooperatives to hear the proposed measures mandating the creation of the position of cooperatives officer from provincial to municipal levels. I'd also like to thank our subcommittee chair, Majority Leader Migs, for taking the lead and holding this hearing even in the midst of the pandemic, as the measures are equally important as we look for ways to our economic recovery and resiliency under the new normal. I'd like to reiterate, together with all the colleagues, my recognition of the value and contribution of the cooperatives as a practical vehicle for promoting self-help, self-reliance, as the good chair mentioned, and harnessing people's power towards the attainment of social justice and economic development, especially at the grassroots level. I'd like to emphasize that the bills intend to complement the work of the Cooperative Development Authority and extend its reach, in fact, at the local government level, as the cooperatives officers would be expected to ensure the formulation and implementation of a local development plan. Also, as the chair mentioned, a local development plan with the end in view of developing cooperatives as a robust people's movement, as social and solidarity enterprises, and as partners for national development. And lastly, I'd like to express my hope that all our colleagues here in the Senate will consider the bill's immediate passage, since, as the chair also mentioned, the House has already passed its version. Salamat kaayo, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Risa Vice Chair of the Committee on Cooperatives. We'd like to recognize Senator Francis Tolentino, our chairman, if you would like to make an opening statement for the record, as we already
Thank you,
on
thank you,
record. After which, Senator Aimee, of course, will go.
Thank you, Senator Zubiri. I, as informally mentioned a while ago, I fully support the measures before us, and it means 1327, 1510, and 1360. Even ask the chairman of the CDA to give a statement relative to the measures being done by CDA, especially during these pandemic days, and especially the proposals for a post COVID-19 era, the role that would be done by the cooperatives. Very vital po ang gagawin ng cooperative sector. I heard the word social justice and economic development coming from Senator Rivera. Very vital po ang gagawin ng cooperative sector, especially post-COVID-19. Ang napapag-usapan lang po talaga ay yung mga malalaking players. Napag-usapan na rin po ng DTI yung small, medium scale industries, pero ang cooperative sector dapat po mabigyan talaga ng tamang role. At ito pong ating measures ngayon na nakasala, ito po ay nakalayunin po nito ay maiangat yung kaalaman para sa ang antas ng cooperative sector. Ang tingin ko po sa cooperative sector, lalo ngayong pandemic na Mr. Chair, parang maong. Yung maong very practical eh. Kahit saan mo isuot, kahit saan mo gamitin, very practical. Kahit saan pwedeng. Ganun po siguro dapat ang tingin natin dito. And speaking of maong, kanina tinanong ko po, Mr. Chair, yung mga government entities present, ano yung ginagamit nila na platform when they convene a virtual meeting. Malamang-lamang po, Zoom. Ang ginagamit natin sa Senado is WebEx. So ito hindi ko po ini-endorse. Ang English po sa maong is Blue Jeans. Ang ginagamit ko po, Mr. Chair, na pang-meeting, ito hindi pa alam ng ating mga ibang kasamahan, with all due respect, is a new platform. Ang tawag po, Blue Jeans. If you try Blue Jeans, Mr. Chair, ang Blue Jeans po ay pinaka-secure. Talo po yung Google to. Nag-advertise na ako rito kasi nabanggit ko yung maong na role ng cooperative. If you, habang nandyan kayo ngayon, try nyo po Blue Jeans. Blue Jeans now is the most effective way of having a virtual meeting. Okay, nabanggit ko lang yung maong. Having said that, Mr. Chair, I wish you a very fruitful committee meeting, and I'll just be listening and probably face out later on. Congratulations, Senator Zubiri.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Maraming salamat. It's good to see you. See you again. If you have to go later, at least I'll just say that I'll see you on Monday.
Thank you, sir.
I miss all of you already. Thank you very much, Chairman. Senator Aimee Marcos, Honorable Aimee Marcos, please. You're now recognized.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you very much. As a member of the Local Government Committee, please allow me to extend full support to any efforts on the part of the authors and sponsors to support the cooperative movement. Ngunit bilang dating gobernador, meron lang akong babanggitin na ibang bagay na sa local government, marami pong LGU na hindi talaga kaya nang magkaroon ng co-op officer, makabagong item, lalong-lalo na those classified as the 4th, 5th, 6th class provinces, cities, and municipalities. Perhaps we can start with the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd class, and thereafter, over a period of X number of years, slowly bring in the 4th, 5th, and 6th class municipalities, provinces, and cities that already have reached their PS or personnel cap of 45 to 55%. Masyado na siyang overbook, kumbaga sa staff, wala na kaming ma-hire. At sigurado yung DBM mag-o-object sa creation ng panibagong item bilang co-op officer in as much as maxed out na yung PS cap ng karamihan ng mga LGU, lalo na sa panahon ito ng COVID na lahat talaga nag-cash for work. Finally, I think siguro sa umpisa, yung mga 4th, 5th, and 6th class, maari siguro yung co-op officer should be designated na muna from a previously existing position, yung MAU o kung saan. Pero eventually, sabihin natin, may transition period, mag-move forward sila sa permanent item. Note also that the organization of CDA has been regionalized. Let's just be clear about the delineation of purposes and functions so that hindi sila mag-overlap. Perhaps also this is the moment, after all, Mr. Chair, 1 month from now, we will be going over the GAA budget for 2021. And it is time to look at the very meager CDA budget and personnel complement. Further, it is perhaps important that we are able to extend legal technical support for the further organization of co-ops. Kasi hanggang ngayon, 21,000 naghihikahos pa yung mga co-op natin. Hindi masyadong lumaganap. And of course, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but perhaps particularly in the time of COVID, an infusion of capital into the languishing co-op banks that are performing, not those that have huge arrears, but those that are actually extending assistance to the countryside, should be included in the capital infusion that is being planned and projected for the larger banks of the government. So ito lang yung sasabihin ko na sana itong effort natin na magkaroon ng co-op officer sa bawat isang LGU, samahan rin ng effort na bigyan ng budget ang CDA, dagdagan ng technical and legal support, higit sa lahat buhayin ang mga co-op bank na talagang naghihikahos. Thank you very much and we support your bill.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Amy. Actually, good ideas yan. No? That's why we're gonna ask later the DBM and of course the DILG, their comments on this measure, particularly on the funding of 4th, 5th, and 6th class municipalities and cities and provinces if they can afford. That's a great startup. That's a great first question. Actually, I'll be asking later to the government agencies. But let's also recognize we have with us our dear friend from Davao, Akong Silingan. I do not know if he's in Davao now or he is in Manila. Okay, ako napa ko sa Mindanao. No other than Senator Bato de la Rosa. Senator Bato, good morning. Good to see you, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Madjo. I am already here in Manila right now and ready to rock and roll this Monday.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Senator Bato. Senator Bato, baka may ano ka, gusto mong idagdag na opening statement about the measure or diretso na tayong tanong sa mga agencies? But if you have an opening statement, please do. Please proceed.
Wala akong opening statement, Mr. Chairman. Basta ako, I fully support this bill. Lalong-lalo
Thank
na
you.
ikaw ang author nito. I will really support at all cost, by all means.
Salamat. Salamat, Chairman. Mo lang mga taga Mindanao ba? Tinabangay.
Salamat.
Thank you, Chairman. Actually, thank you, Senator Bato, who's also, by the way, the chairman of the Committee on Public Order and Safety, Public Order and Security. Thank you, Chairman. So we'd like to proceed with the discussions. This is a very interesting topic, very important topic, and I've noticed many of the LGUs that have cooperative development officers, like Cavite, like Bulacan. We can see talaga Batangas. We can see talaga lumalago, no? Lumalago yung cooperative movement doon, lumalakas, organized, nakakakuha ng tulong galing sa local government. And so we'd like to replicate this all throughout the country. So I'll start the discussion with the permission of my colleagues with the head of the Liga ng mga Cooperative Development Officers of the Philippines. I'll start with LCDOP. After her statement, I will now move to the government agencies. And I'm happy to see Yusek RJ Echeverry there, who's a good friend of mine, whose father is a good friend of mine, Ricom. And of course, the other agencies of government, such as the DBM, Civil Service Commission, BLGF. So we'll start off with you, Ma'am Celia Atienza. Ma'am, you're now recognized. Ma'am.
Yes, sir. Senator, kung natatandaan niyo po, dyan sa yung huli nating encounter. At isa po
I remember, Ma'am Celia.
yes, sir. At isa po ito dun sa major issue pa rin natin. So, this is going to be a celebration for the cooperative movement, for the Liga ng mga Cooperative Officers sa Pilipinas, and the LGUs in particular, because we have been waiting for the consideration of this initiative for so long a time. The LCDOC has conducted 9 national tripartite conferences for the past 16 years. Every 2 years po kasi siya. And 9 resolution for the mandatory appointment of local cooperative officer had been submitted to the past chairpersons of the Committee on Cooperatives of the House of Representatives. But unfortunately, though there were efforts by our honorable congressman, the same rested in the House. Not only the Liga made efforts in this same plea, pero nandiyan din po yung ating National Cooperative Summit, National Convention, the National Cooperative Summit, pinakamalaking assembleya po ng mga cooperative leaders and cooperative stakeholders as led by the Philippine Cooperative Center. Lagi rin pong nasasama yung mga resolution na yan. From the House of Representatives, it's now a matter of, this matter now is now in the Senate. Tuwan-tuwa po kami at lalo po kami natutuwa. We're so positive with the presence of so many senators at nag-manifest na po ng suporta nila para dito. Magbigay lang po ako ng ilang points, Senator, at sa aking pong mga kasamahan. I'd like to join yung pong points ni Senator Ivy Marcos. Medyo na, doon po sa RA 7160, ang nakalagay po doon ay optional siya sa provincial and city, provinces and city, pero no mention sa mga municipality. I'd like to reiterate na kami po sa local government, ang probinsya, we have no other clients, kundi nanggagaling din sa mga city at saka municipalities. So dito po sa proposal natin, parang across the board, magkakaroon po ng magiging mandatory siya. The position of the cooperative, local cooperative officer will be mandatory sa lahat ng munisipyo, city at saka ng probinsya. So gets ko po si Senator Amy na yung kapabilidad of the LGUs to create. Kasi doon po sa ating local government, ang ating pong proposition is for mandatory appointment ng cooperative officer. At sinasabi po sa batas that the cooperative officer who will head the office. So, ibig sabihin, hindi lang talaga isang position ng officer malalagay kasi wala naman pong programa na pinatatakbo lang ng isang tao. There must be an office to that effect. So, pagka-level po siya nasa local government code, I think ang perception ay i-departmentalize mo siya. So siguro po yun yung gusto sana namin magkaroon ng detalye in the proposal na ano ba yung mga, alin mga LGUs ang capable na mag-departmentalize. Kasi pag sinabi po naman natin office with due respect po sa Commission on Civil Service, di po ba a division is an office, a section is an office. So baka po meron tayong may offer na mga options sa ating mga LGUs. We would also like to emphasize na minus this mandatory position, meron na po tayong mga alat, as mentioned earlier, around 300 plus LGUs and appointed their cooperative officers, pero hindi po lahat yun ay may cooperative office. Very few po yung meron talagang may department head at merong cooperative office, and I'd like to mention yung mga sitwasyon po in Region 4. Region 4A out of 5 LGUs, 3 po yung aming buo yung department. Ang mga provinces of Iloilo, Tarlac, Pampanga, even as far as Albay, mga full-fledged po ang mga offices niyan. And you'll notice, sir, dito po kasi sa ating proposal ay appointment ng local cooperative officer. But in reality, sir, ang ating po mga cooperative officers also handle other programs. We're into enterprise development. Kanina po nabanggit ni Senator Tolentino na may programa si DTI para sa SMEs. Gusto ko lang pong mabanggit. Unfortunately, sabi ko, si Cooperative is only one of the enterprises under DTI. So kung ano man po yung program ni DTI na ang kanyang recipient ay yung mga tinatawag natin micro, small, medium enterprises, pumapasok po dyan si Cooperative as an enterprise. Hindi siya separate entity. So yun po sana yung gusto rin naming magkaroon ng ng consideration na mapalawak din yung nasasakupan ng cooperative office. Kasi ang kooperatiba po ay composed sa mga miyembro. At ang kailangan, sabi nga po kanina ni Ma'am Amy, ay hindi lumalakas ang mga kooperatiba. So kailangan natin tulungan. Ang magpapalakas po kasi sa kooperatiba ay individual members. And we think we should start with strong member. Dahil nagninegosyo yung kooperatiba, dapat yung mga individual member natin, meron po siyang mindset ng entrepreneur. Yung entrepreneurial capability nila ay masama po dun sa development. Kami po, wala kami sa posisyon, hindi namin po tatanggihan, and we appreciate so much the effort. Senator Mig, sabi mo po sa Jensan, Ma'am Sel, huwag mo nang uulitin ito dahil may ginagawa na kami sa Senado. So, ito po yung produkto ng napakatagal na panahon. This is not a celebration for the LGUs, hindi lang po sa LGUs. Pero ang tingin ko, as we strengthen the capability of the LGU to be of service to the sector, celebration po ito ng co-op sector dahil the cooperatives will be proximate to the local cooperative officer. Kahit po merong mga regional offices, Madam Amy, ang CDA, very limited po yung kanilang staff. Like, for example, in one province, meron lang silang 4 na staff covering, let's say, 34 LGUs. Maliit po siya. So kung meron po tayong buong organization sa local government, kung ano man po yung maging setup, that will be a lot of help to the sector. So maraming salamat po, Senator Subiri, at sa lahat po ng senador na nandito. At sa lahat po ng taga-co-op sector, lahat po yung nakikita ninyo tumaten dito, lahat po yan ay kasama namin sa pagpupost nitong mandatory o kung hindi man po ay mandatory creation or appointment of cooperative officer. Maraming salamat po pala sa LCBO. Good morning.
Thank you, Ma'am Celia. To my colleagues, no, you may ask questions with the resource persons para hindi pa po tayo magbabalik-balik. Or of course, what we'll do is each resource person, let us already exhaust our questions to them, and then we move to the next resource person. Para that way, we can already clarify certain issues. Ma'am Celia, meron na po akong itatanong sa inyo para at least mailagay na rin natin for the record.
Yes.
Bakit kaya 305, I think on record, dito po sa aking ay 305 lamang po ang LGUs na nagkaroon po ng cooperative officers. Ano kaya ang pinakamalaking hadlang? Budgetary ba po or ano pang ibang dahilan na nakikita niyo?
Sir, una yung sa budgetary, plus po, wala talagang strong pushing for the inclusion of cooperative development program in the local development plan. Pag tinignan mo po yung development plan ng mga probinsya, hindi mo po makikita diyan na meron po may special concern for cooperative development. I attribute this thing Kasi wala po kaming, with due respect sa CBA, no, we have yet to receive an order, let's say, from NEDA, from CBA, for the incorporation of cooperative development program in the local development plan. Makikita po ninyo yung yung si senior citizen, yung si PWD, may mga lumalabas silang mga order na kailangan kasama yan sa programa, or else the whole program of the province will not be incorporated. Baka po ang tingin nila sa kooperatiba ay talagang dahil nga siya is a private organization, is a separate entity na pabayaan na lang siya ng mga LGUs. Next po, nung dumating naman po yung time na the matter had been considered by the local chief executive, ang tanong ay, ano ba yung batas na magsasabi na we could really create an office or a position? So, pag tinignan mo po yung si local government code, sasabihin nila optional. Sabi ko nga po ay, sabi nga po sa ating local government code, there is local autonomy. Marami po sa atin ay produkto ng wala pa si local government code, pero yung iba may created cooperative office. Tapos ang isa po ay yung po bang consideration ng other departments na mas mahalaga. Let's say for example, sir, habang nilalabi po natin itong creation ng office at saka po ng position, sumabay po yung creation po ng employment yung peso. So mas na-prioritize siya. And then yung sa disaster risk management, across the country talagang kailangan may department. So yung budgetary constraint ay isa po dyan. Mas nga po sir ay yung pasensya na sa sector, parang mahina yung namin, yung aming, sabi nga po, kami naririnig, hindi lang kami napapakinggan ng aming mga LGUs.
Thank you, Ma'am Celia. So, if there are no questions to Ma'am Celia, I'll move to the next resource person, which I want to ask. Yes, ma'am.
Doon nga po sa effort namin na mapasama yung cooperative program, you'll notice sir sa mga, makita po ninyo yung mga title ng mga offices namin, di meron po tayong cooperative development office, you'll find out some of the projects na related sa economic incorporated. Let's say for example, Albay. Si Albay po, cooperative office and employment. So ibig sabihin, even yung peso nasa kanya. In Batangas, sir, in Batangas, Cavite, naka-angkla po kami sa livelihood, entrepreneurial, enterprise development yung ating kooperatiba. Yung iba naman po, marami dyan ay cooperative and enterprise development para lang po siya ay masingit dun sa whole organization ng LGU. Kumbaga sanay naghahanap po kami ng related program in the LGU na bagay si kooperatiba. So actually po, ang tingin nga namin, si cooperative is bagay na bagay sa DTI because it's an enterprise. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Yes, I believe you are now an attached agency of the DTI, di ba? Na-attached agency na po kayo ng DTI, which is good kasi at least matutukan kayo ng DTI. At ang DTI ay magandang ahensya na makatulong sa inyo, lalo na sa shared service facilities na kailangan ng ating mga kooperatiba. Now let's proceed to the DILG. Yusek RJ, good morning po. May we ask your comments on these measures? Kayo ba ay sumasang-ayon, tumututol, at kung bakit po? Tante po sa atin yan. Kasi kayo po ang, of course, the amendment of the local government code is at stake here.
Thank you very much, my favorite senator.
Thank you. Apat po kami dito.
Yes, I'm sorry. Of course, my other
Apat kami dito.
Sige,
thanks RJ. Go ahead. But we're family friends, kaya
Yes, of course.
I used to see you when you were a student.
Yes.
During our Spice Boys days, a long time
Yes,
ago.
the Spice Boys days. Yes. Under Section 487, Paragraph A of Republic Act Number 7160 of the Local Government Code, the appointment of the cooperatives officer is made optional for the provincial and city governments. The subject measure seeks to make the appointment thereof mandatory in municipalities, cities, and provinces because of the following reasons. Number one, so that affairs and activities of cooperatives in every province, city, and municipality will be in sync and harmonized with the development plan or the local development plan of the national government. Number two, to ensure the local governments would be able to effectively respond to the need of the cooperatives as partners for sustainable local development under Senate Bill number 1360. Number three, serve as the vital linkage between the LGUs and the cooperative sector and ensure steady collaboration and effective partnership between the two at the grassroots level in accordance to Senate Bill number 1510. This level does not interpose any objection to the purpose of the measure. We are of the view that the mandatory appointment of cooperative officers in province, cities, and municipalities will bring forth sustainable economic development therein as cooperatives or similar collective organizations substantially help in the provision of livelihood to the residents. I, Mr. Senator, personally saw during my immersion in some barangays in Bicol, how barangays in 4th, 5th, and 6th class municipality would fail to assist barangays in creating cooperative livelihoods for women or wives who are idle in the community while their husbands are farming. So often they spend their time gossiping and drinking. We saw the need to have a livelihood for them. And to sustain the seed money, we need the livelihood cooperative. Only to find out that when we went to the municipality, they can only afford an agricultural office and a DSW office to sustain that cooperative effort. Without a specific cooperative office, agriculture concerns will dominate the concerns of that municipality because 4th, 5th, and 6th class municipality are more agricultural in concern. We can use perhaps the Mandanas ruling case wherein budgets can be eventually be given to LGUs. That could be one of the purpose for this use. But be that as it may, the local development plan, we are looking of putting in more points to the seal of good local governance so that we could encourage further local government units to use to improve the cooperative efforts into it. Again, Mr. Chair, without making it mandatory, even if there is no budget yet, if we cannot find any budget or if ever DBM will not agree, would eventually allow local chief executives to be creative. They can always use some of their funds to fund the compensation of this officer. What's important, Mr. Chair, is to make that mandatory so that all LGs, for that matter, can create an office to focus on cooperative livelihoods and other concerns. Without it, Mr. Chair, agricultural concerns will dominate the concerns of each municipality. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Yusek RJ. Actually, you're absolutely correct. You hit the nail right on the head. Kasi I visited also in my trips to the provinces prior to COVID-19. Syempre, iniikutan natin yung mga LGUs at bilang chairman ng Committee on Cooperatives, pag nagtatanong po ako if there's a cooperative officer of the province or the city, and I noticed those that do not really have a decline in development of the cooperative movements in their particular locations. And you're absolutely correct because an agriculture office cannot be equated as a cooperative office also because there's so many segments of the cooperative sector that are not just agri-based. So you have lending, you have credit-based, you have in many provinces and cities, my teachers' cooperatives, my women's cooperative movements that provide livelihood to women, the women sector, and hindi nga natutukan pag walang officer, nakikita ko po yun. And the provinces naman that have a cooperative, a very strong and vibrant cooperative sector, and a strong and vibrant cooperative officer, you notice that the poverty levels, you can collate the poverty levels, ay mas mababa. Ito po yung mga like the provinces of Bulacan, Batangas, minsan nga single digits yung poverty rates, no? Or very very low poverty levels. So tama po kayo, at least natututukan po itong advocacy na ito, no? Itong of course adhikain natin on cooperative movement. So thank you, Yusek RJ. We'll probably need your support when we discuss this with all the LGUs because of course this will have to course through all our provinces, cities, and municipalities. So maraming salamat RJ. Tama ka, magkakaroon tayo ng pera because of the Mandanas petition. LGUs will be awash with cash, at least we hope so, and additional amount of money. So Would now like to recognize, of course,
Mr.
before
Chair.
yes, of course, Ma'am Risa, please, any of my colleagues can butt in at any time. Risa, please go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just by way of a note from the perspective po nung ating Committee on Women, gusto ko lang i-enrich yung point about the work of rural women. Kasi actually po, and I'm sure maraming obserbasyon dito at malalim ang obserbasyon ng ating cooperative movements. In fact, rural women are not idle. Rural co-ops, agricultural co-ops, other rural sectoral groups ay matagal nang nag-document na in fact, rural women account for more than 50% of all agricultural tasks. Kahit pa po kung yung mga asawa o partner nilang lalaki yung siyang nag-aararo or nagtatanim or in major part nag-aani, rural women account for a lot of agricultural tasks including maintaining the tools, tumutulong din sa seed gathering, tumutulong din sa pag-aani, etc. And syempre, yung so-called reproductive work ng mga kababaihan, pareho sa nayon, pareho dito sa kalunsuran, are part of the whole agricultural economy. And secondly, also to just enrich that point about yung concern natin that agricultural concerns will dominate. Actually, well, syempre gusto natin mag-develop ng balanced development program, kaya nga yung LGUs natin nangunguna sa pagbuo ng local development plans. But in fact, in areas na sa ngayon predominantly agricultural, that's not so much, I think, a worry or even a limitation, pero potential talaga, lakas. And agricultural and other rural co-ops are strategically located para i-realize yung agricultural potential ng ating mga rural areas and particularly also, Mr. Chair, through the cooperatives movement. Salamat po.
Mr. Chair, can I interject?
Yes, who's that? You said RJ?
Yes.
Yes, please,
Um,
please proceed.
I just would like to clear my statement on the women. Actually, when we went to an immersion, Madam, during our Saldiwa, one thing that we have identified in the issue of in one of the barangays is really not so much of the women not doing at all, not in general, but what we saw is how some women, not all, no, some women are not utilized or not functional for that matter. And as I've said, idle. We want to help them. We want to give them livelihood. But one thing that we saw is that we don't have any cooperative to help them. If ever we want to give money, how are they going to sustain it if there's no cooperative? I'm not saying that agricultural will dominate it per se, but I would say we could perhaps help some sectors which are not purely agricultural to sustain themselves. Because really some, no, most especially, I'll specify it in Bula, no, Municipality of Bula in Bicol, hindi po lahat ng areas doon pagmamay-ari ng mga farmers. Those are just tenants. Kaya nagre-rely lang ho sila sa kung ano ibibigay sa kanila ng mga owners doon. So kung wala namang talagang pagmamay-ari ng lupa ang mga farmers doon, they're really left with nothing. That's why we wanted to give livelihood to them. So probably that's what I meant on women being idle at that, and at the same time, agriculture really dominates it. We just want to give them livelihood because they don't own any land for farming. And I agree with you, agriculture is a potential in that area. Thank you.
There's to add to that discussion, there's a lot of agricultural products or byproducts that the women's organizations can actually, if they are cooperative, they can make products with. Maraming ganyan. Sa Negros, there's so many, yung outer trade. Alam ni Ma'am Risa yan, the outer trade movement in Negros, where our women's organizations there are actually taking the lead using agricultural byproducts and making it more precious, making it more value added. So yes, absolutely. Kaya kailangan tulak na natin ito para lalong lumago ang countryside development. may we now recognize, before I ask the other government agencies, let's ask the group that is going to be most affected by this. We do not have ULAP with us today, but we do have Angelica Sanchez of the League of Provinces. Ma'am Angelica, could you weigh in on, of course, the position of the League of Provinces on this? Please, thank you, ma'am.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair. As already mentioned earlier,
Ay, Ma'am Angela, medyo mahina yung mic. Could you speak closer to the microphone, please, ma'am?
yes,
Thank you.
okay. Mr. Chair, as already articulated earlier by Senator Aimee, the LGUs can have a little problem as far as PS limitation is concerned. Of course, we are supportive of amending Section 487 of RA 7160 on the powers, qualifications, and duties of the cooperatives officer, except for the provision of making the position mandatory from being optional. And Mr. Chair, our dilemma here is that on principle, the League of Provinces is against any unfunded mandates. And if we are going to move the cooperatives of officer from paragraph B of section 463 from making it optional to mandatory, Mr. Chair, our problem is that this is going to have the effect of putting up a whole office, and a lot of LGUs, especially lower class provinces, at least I will speak for the provinces, Mr. Chair. So a lot of lower class LGU provinces may not be able to create the whole office. Unless, and the and we also agree that there are already provinces who would welcome the amendment of this law in order to institutionalize the office. So, Mr. Chair, it has also been earlier discussion during another bill for the creation of another mandatory office for the tourism officer. So, if we can come up with a compromise that this is not necessarily the creation of of a whole office, because putting it in sections 43, 463 will make it a mandatory office. So there, Mr. Chair. And then we must also remember that not all LGUs are of equal stature. And in the case of local LGUs, lower class LGUs, their financial resources are barely enough to pay for the personal services of mandatory positions. And they and at the same time, it's also barely enough to maintain the cost of operating this office, much more compound on them the fiscal responsibility of another mandatory office. So we propose, Mr. Chair, that for now, for LGUs who cannot afford to put up a cooperatives office, the position of the cooperatives officer can be made an adjunct to the local economic investments and promotions office. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ma'am Angelica. In other words, pera pa rin ang problema, budgeting for an additional position item as well as an office. So
Yes,
it
Mr.
seems that
Chair.
the League of Provinces is not averse to the idea of the appointment of an officer. It's the office
Yes po.
that medyo baka mahirapan sila. Is that correct, Ma'am
Yes,
Angelica?
Mr. Chair. Yes,
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Pero the League of Provinces naman understand the importance of having such an officer position, because really it will promote inclusive growth all over the countryside, particularly provinces that have a strong cooperative movement. So sige ma'am, we'll take that in consideration. The bill is actually very straightforward. It's
Yes.
just an amendment by adding the word a municipal cooperative officer on both section 443, section 454, and section 463. So, but of course, during the course of the discussion and during the creation of the um, um, committee report, as Ma'am Aimee had said earlier, there are proposals for amendments, and we can work on that so that hindi naman masyak kaagad yung mga LGUs natin. Pero
Yes, Mr. Chair.
nakikita po natin ay napakahalaga talaga nitong position na ito. And as I said, no,
Mr. Chair.
it's defensible. It is much defensible in the plenary because if you look at the provinces with cooperative officers in correlation to poverty incidence, you can really see na there is a big difference once binigyan ng tutok talaga ang cooperative movement sa mga probinsya na ito at ng mga munisipyo na ito, ay umaangat ang kahirapan, nawawala ang kahirapan ng ating mga kababayan, umaangat ang kabuhayan nila. I know there's someone raising hands.
Mr. Chair,
Lisa, yes, please. And then I believe
salamat.
after which Annabelle also, Ma'am Annabelle of Tagcodec would like to also ask a comment, and then Ma'am Celia. Please go ahead, Ma'am Risa.
Salamat, Mr. Chair. Gusto kong magtanong kay Ma'am Angelica. Ninote ko po yung suggestion nyo, yung possibility na yung cooperatives officer ay mapailalim muna or mapaloob sa local economic office, for example, sa province. At saka gusto ko lang kasi linawin yung for one, yung bill ko, and kung my understanding of all our bills in the Senate are speaking about position, not organization. Pero I do appreciate yung sinasabi ng ninyo, mga resource persons, that baka ang may dating na if there's an officer, ang implikasyon ay magkakaroon ng office. Pero gusto ko lang bigyang diin na yung proposal is for a position, not yet necessarily for an organization. Kaya yon, ninote ko yung suggestion nyo. And then gusto kong idugtong yon dun sa unang tanong ni Sen Aimee kanina. And I was prompted to think dun sa tanong niya ni Sen Aimee, fair enough, kung yung may mga 4th to 6th class municipalities na hindi pa ngayon maka-afford na magkaroon ng mandated na cooperatives officer, would it be another possibility from the perspective of the League of Provinces? Posible kaya na yung provincial co-op officers muna ang parang maging caretaker dun sa mga 4th to 6th class municipalities sa loob ng probinsya nila who cannot yet afford even to appoint a cooperatives officer. Parang ano muna, kumbaga sa electrification, missionary route muna, adopt muna, hand-holding muna, until such time na ma-afford na or may financial capacity na yung 4th to 6th class municipalities na iyon to have their own cooperatives officer. Salamat, Mr. Chair. Anong tingin niyo po, Ma'am Angelica? Ma'am Angelica, naka-mute kayo.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay.
Yes po. That would be possible po. But I think, Mr. Chair, the problem is the feasibility of it. Because technically, there is no direct line between the provincial co-op officer, if in case, and the municipal cooperatives officer. Because the lines are just general supervision between a province and the municipality, but it does not imply anything about the personnel that there is a direct correlation between them. So yun po yung namin, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
Salamat, Ma'am Angelica. Well taken, Mr. Chair. Siguro pwede na lang nating further i-consider at i-develop yung ganitong mga options, mga ideya kapag magtawag kayo ng technical working group. Salamat, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ma'am Risa. We'd like to recognize Ma'am Annabelle Tuy of Tagcodec for a short rejoinder, and then after which Ma'am Celia also, so that we can, after that, we have to go back to our resource persons. Ma'am Annabelle, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Sen Migs, and good morning po sa lahat ng mga kasama namin ngayon. Sabi nga ni Ma'am Celia kanina, kami pa rin yung lagi-laging nagkakasama pagdating po sa concerns ng cooperatives. I just would like to react on the statement ni Sir RJ about Bula, kasi I came from Bicol. Hindi ko po alam kung kailan po kayo nag-visit sa Bula, but as far as I can remember, because of the active participation and monitoring of the CDA in Region 5, working together with the LGUs and the cooperative sector, namumonitor po nila. So sa Bula, I think meron ng several cooperatives po doon na meron na nga silang na-develop na rice coffee. Nagkaroon lang po sila ng konting kakulangan on the packaging side, because I am one of the cooperative trainer noon na nagpunta sa area para matulungan sila to develop their products. So kung tutuusin po, maganda yung point na yung cooperatives talaga, natutulungan po natin ang mga kababaihan, lalo na po yung mga asawa ng mga magsasaka, because we have also several farmers cooperative in Bicol, in Camarines Sur na tinutulungan din po ng DAR. So, with the statement kasi ni Sir RJ, natutuwa po ako na perhaps yung cooperatives na yon, if I am not mistaken, parang 4 po silang cooperatives na kinakailangan talaga ng assistance. So, kung may pangangailangan sila, ang DILG ng matutulungan na organized group, kami po ay ko-contact sa inyo para po ma-assist yung grupo ng mga cooperatives, particularly po sa Camarines Sur, sa Bicol Region. Yun lang naman po. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ma'am Annabel. Ma'am Celia, please go ahead.
Ma'am Angelica tsaka kay Ma'am Risa. Ma'am, ganito po kasi, kami sana ang proposal namin dahil alam namin magiging mabigat, maging mandatory siya sa provincial and city. Ang reference po sana natin ang creation, ma'am, kasi ang ina-amend po natin dito yung local government code na from optional gagawin siyang mandatory. Pag ito po talaga yung reference natin, talagang ang level ngayon ng cooperative officer ay department head kasi in charge siya of the office. So kaya kung ang halimbawa po ang amendment po natin ay mandatory siya sa provincial and city, ang reference po natin ay the number of existing cooperatives. Kasi ma'am, pag naglagay tayo ng cooperative officer sa mga LGU na meron po tayong mga LGU na walang cooperative, so ang ibig sabihin, magiging function nila is to advocate the organization. Hindi po natin, kumbaga sa hindi priority natin ang organizing new co-op. Ang sa atin po sana is strengthening the existing one and the inclusion of those individual interested person na mag-join sa existing co-op. Ma'am, kung sakali po sa provincial, actually ma'am, hindi po natin, so far sa cooperative sector is concerned, hindi natin under si Municipal Cooperative Office. Ang link po ng opisina ay sa cooperative sector. So halimbawa ma'am, province na, ang isang probinsya, siya ang merong cooperative office. Kahit po, with due respect sa mga municipalities, kahit wala po mga cooperative offices or officer yung mga LGUs dahil hindi nila kaya i-create, yung mga cooperative po sa area niya could directly go to the province. Actually ma'am, pwede nga wala tayo eh. They could actually go directly to CDA. Kasi yun ang kanilang mother pero tayo po we're trying to play our role as a service provider in the middle. Sabi ko nga, tayo ang nakakaalam sa mga kooperatibang nag-exist sa our own localities. So sana ganun po yung setup. And then ma'am, meron po, i-remind ko lang po sa DILG, kasi kung sakali po gano'n, meron po kasi mga mekanismo ng nagawa para po dahil medyo nga kami takot na baka nga hindi ito magkaroon ng approval sa creation. So we could take some other options. Sir, meron po kami napasa na joint memo circular ng DILG at saka ng CBA na ang sinasabi po doon, ang subject po ay cooperative promotion, organization, and development in local government units. Yan po ay naka-address sa lahat ng provincial governor, city and municipal mayors, barangay, DILG, and other agencies na may kinalaman sa co-op. Dito po nakapaloob na ina-advise sila na i-create ang office. Kung hindi nila kayang i-create ang office, para po may mga option na inilagay. Plus po, dahil nilalabi nga namin ito, doon po sa bagong charter ni CDA, amin pong naipakiusap kay CDA na gawin niyang mandato yung coordination and collaboration with the LGUs para meron kaming mother agency na pwedeng mag-utos sa LGU to incorporate cooperative program. And even in the IRR, we're so happy po na kami naman po yung pinakinggan ni CDA na yung nilalabi namin na ma-incorporate ng mga provision sa kanilang IRR kung paano mai-establish, makikreate, may establish, makakapag-appoint o makakapag-designate ng office or officer ay mailagay doon. So kung ito pong inyong inisyatibo na ito, kung ano man yung magiging level niya, kung yung may classification kung saan mandatory, saan optional, magkakatagpo-tagpo po yung other enabling mechanism and the role of other agencies. Thank you very much po.
Thank you, Ma'am Celia. So moving on towards, magandang mga punto ninyo po. Dalawa po kayo ni Ma'am Annabel. So we'll take that in consideration, definitely. Let's now move on to our other government offices. We'll ask the DBM. Alam mo naman, lahat naman ng programa, proyekto ay ang last say palagi, last touch ang Department of Budget and Management. Ito po ay magdadagdag ng isang officer, cooperative officer sa cities, municipalities, and provinces. So we'd like to ask the DBM on their comment on the capability of government to fund this particular measure. No? So may we recognize, we have with us Director Aris Makaspak.
Yes, sir.
Kayo po, Director, ang magsasalita or may iba po kayong kasama na magsasalita? Kayo na po.
I am the representative po of the Department of Budget and Management, sir.
Okay, please proceed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning and to the other members of the committee and to my fellow resource speakers. At the outset, allow me to inform you, Mr. Chairman, that the Department of Budget and Management will submit its official position paper on the proposed measure. Nevertheless, I would like to already relay some of our initial findings and comments on the Senate bills. Under Section 76 of the Local Government Code of 1991 or Republic Act Number 7160, every local government unit shall design and implement its own organizational structure and staffing pattern, taking into consideration its service requirements and financial capability, subject to the minimum standards and guidelines prescribed by the Civil Service Commission. So the said provision of the Local Government Code grants flexibility to the local government units in determining and addressing their respective human resource requirements and needs in accordance with the principle of local fiscal autonomy for local governments as enshrined under the 1987 Constitution and the Local Government Code of 1991. Thus, mandating the LGUs to create specific positions may lessen the fiscal flexibility of the local governments and ultimately weaken their fiscal autonomy. Moreover, the mandatory creation of cooperatives position in every province, city, and municipality will likely increase the personal services requirements of local government units. And as already pointed out by the representative of the League of Provinces of the Philippines and by Senator Aimee earlier, the local governments have budgetary limitations. Under Section 325A of the Local Government Code, they are mandated to observe the what we call personal services limitation requirement. So that is 45% for the higher class LGUs, meaning for the first to third income class LGUs, and 55% for the lower income class LGUs. So for those belonging to fourth to sixth income classes. So the PS computation is based on their total annual income from regular sources realized in the next preceding fiscal year. Meaning, for example, for 2020, the PS limitation was based on their 2018 collection of regular revenues. And as already pointed out also by the League of Provinces representative, the creation of a specific position by amending the Local Government Code of 1991 may also entail the creation of a separate office for the cooperatives officer that will be created by virtue of the proposed measure. And the mandatory creation, as I have already informed, may increase the PS requirements. And not only the PS requirements, but also the operating requirements of the LGU because of the creation of that specific office, and even the capital outlay requirements because of the possible requirement for the establishment or construction of an office for that department or position. So, in sum, Mr. Chairman, the proposed measure will be of a considerable cost on the part of the local government units. Accordingly, we are of the position that it may be prudent to retain the optional appointment for cooperatives officer position as it provides the local government units with flexibility to determine the rank and level of position based on their respective financial capabilities, and also by observing the budget limitations as provided under the Local Government Code. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Director, thank you for quoting like the true accountant, the accountant of government, the budgetary office of government. But in actuality, Director, isang tao lamang ito para sa probinsya, isang tao lamang ito sa munisipyo, isang tao lang to sa syudad. Tignan natin yung mga budgets ng mga cities and provinces. Billion piso na po ang kanilang mga budgets. Even in Negros Occidental, where that's my paternal province, where my father is from, they have about 14 or 15 cities in Negros Occidental. Kaliit-liit na mga bayan, kaliit-liit na mga lugar, pero ang kanilang budget ay umabot na ng 500 million pesos, etc., etc. If you look at the personnel contingents of these provinces, and I can speak from experience, Director, because my father is the provincial governor of Bukidnon, member of the League of Provinces. So I know they have thousands of employees. What is one? What is one additional employee na tututok sa kooperatiba? Di ba? Kung sa job order lang, tingnan nyo, libo-libong job order sa mga syudad at mga probinsya. Kaya buti sana kung maglalagay tayo ng opisina kung saan ay it will be about 10 to 15 personnel per LGU. Yan, medyo magkakaproblema tayo niyan. Pero kung isang officer lang po lamang, na ang budgetary requirement ay napakalit in the scheme of things, no? Because I know the budgets of the province of Bukidnon is about, if I'm not mistaken, it's over 1 billion pesos. And 40% of 1 billion pesos, if you say, I think it's 1.5 B na yata yung ira ng Bukidnon. So 40% of that is a large amount for personnel services. What is one additional officer for the province? What is one additional officer for the cities of Valencia and Malaybalay? Maliit na bagay yan, pero on the larger scheme of things, nakatutok po sila sa pag-unlad ng countryside development. Di ba? That's why government steps in. Well, policymakers like legislators like ourselves in the Senate, together with the congressmen, come up with a policy because we see that this will be good for the overall development of the countryside. Kaya kailangan talaga natin yung policy ay maging batas. Kasi kung ibibigay naman po natin yan sa sector, sa particular sector, which is the LGUs, of course, if it's optional, they'd rather not because they would use the money elsewhere. But if we look at best practices, and these are the 305 LGUs that have cooperative officers, as I mentioned, no, mababa yung kanilang poverty rate incidences. You can get the NSA surveys, no, the National Statistics Office surveys, at makikita nyo talaga, for example, the province of Bulacan, the province of Batangas, Albay in Bicol, and many other areas where they are not in the top 40, no, not in the top 40 in terms of poverty incidences. So may correlation yan. Ibig sabihin, hindi lamang nilang pinapabayaan ng kanilang mga kooperatiba o kanyang mga kababayan doon, kundi tinutulungan nila, no? They're helping their Filipino brothers and sisters. They're help themselves through the cooperative movement. That's why I have to convince, no, I cannot stop convincing government agencies. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what. Alam po ni Ma'am Risa ito. In 2015, Bukidnon had one of the highest, we were in the top 10 poverty incidents assess of the country. Ang ginawa po namin, agad-agad, gumawa po kami ng isang anti-poverty summit. This was in 2016, followed by another one in 2018. We came up with steps to be able to reduce poverty, and one of them was to operate extension colleges for Bukidnon State University extension campuses. So nagtayo po ako ng 12 extension campus. Ang tumutol, ang CHED at the time. Ayaw talaga ng CHED. Kung makinig po tayo sa government agency, hindi na natuloy yun. But I was able to convince CHED at that time, and I believe there was also a leadership change, and the next leader of CHED at this time, si Popoy de Vera, was very supportive, and he agreed because they don't want extension campuses because it will now weaken the centers of excellence in terms of education. But you know, when we put up the 12 campuses, Director, as a matter of fact, I always lobby with the DBM for the funding of these 12 extension campuses. Bukidnon from 52% poverty incidence in 2015, in the 2018 survey, this is a fact. It went down by 21 percentage points. We are now 31% in terms of poverty level. From number 5 in the list of poverty incidents, we are now number 20 in the list. Because of our intervention of programs and projects na ayaw ng national government, na dahil dun sa ginawa namin Now we circumvented the negative, of course, support by this national government. We were able to come up with less amount of poverty incidences in our province. So it works. Education and training. We put up 18 TESDA training centers, and now we're doing, for those who cannot go to college, they go to the TESDA training center right beside the extension campus. So kung nakinig po ako sa to end the stories, kung nakinig po ako sa CHED, siguro ganun karami ang problema in terms of poverty incidences, lack of education in my province. So as policymakers, we have to come up and put our foot down and come up with right policies towards that direction. I hope you understand me, Director, no? Kasi ang Bukidnon ay isolated. As a matter of fact, I'm right now in the boundary of Bukidnon and Cagayan de Oro. So we need all types of interventions to keep our people alive and working, lalo na in this time of pandemic. And ang nakikita ko talaga, organizing themselves into cooperatives is one of those interventions. And so that's why it's very important that we have these cooperative officers. And with all due respect to the League of Provinces and the ULAP and other LGUs, sometimes, I mean, my due apologies to them, and I hope this doesn't blow out of proportion. Of course, my father is also part of the local government units. Pero minsan matitigas ang ulo. They don't see the importance of having this particular office. And I'm fighting for it because I see the importance. Sa pag-ikot ko po, as I mentioned, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, there is a correlation talaga sa isang LGU na nagbibigay po ng prioridad sa cooperative movement in terms of poverty incidences in their provinces. Talagang there is a correlation. I'm a numbers guy, so I believe in statistics. I believe in the records and the numbers. And the numbers show in these areas, kung kumuha po kayo ng NSA, National Statistics Office, NSO na survey, dyan po ang lumalabas. Tingnan niyo po yung mga opisina na yan. Talagang yung mga probinsya na yan at mga munisipyo, mabababa po ang kanilang poverty incidences. So let's give it a try. Let's not outright shut it out outright. Most especially the fact that the LGUs will be getting a higher amount of funding from the Mandana's decision of the Supreme Court. What is one officer for the province? What is one officer for the city? Maliit lang po yan in terms of expenditure for the local government units. But nevertheless, of course, we appreciate your decision. I understand that DBM is always about fiscal prudence and fiscal spending. Yeah, don't worry, Director. I understand where you're coming from.
Yes,
But
sir.
of course, as policymakers, we have to appeal to the government agencies implementing this on the goodness of the outcome that we're trying to achieve. So any of my colleagues would like to weigh in, or we proceed to the other?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Siguro po ang nawawala kasi sa atin yung basic. Tingnan niyo po yung panawagan ko po ito sa DILG and even sa NEDA. Kasi
Who's speaking? Si Ma'am Celia. Okay, Ma'am Celia, go ahead.
Kasi sir, ganito yung sa DBM kasi makikita, ako po, I'm involved in budget preparation of our province. At salamat po nababanggit yung aking governor. Batangas po, Governor Mandanas. At siya din po yung unang nag-create, siya rin po during his term ang nag-create ng Cooperative Development Office. Kasi sir, ang nila, baka akala nila is capricho lang ito ng mga LGUs to create an office to accommodate personalities. Tayo po kasi nandiyan na yung mga kliyente natin na cooperative sector, may mga activities na cooperative sector na hindi ma-address ng LGU kasi wala siyang officer in charge. Pag tinignan niyo po yung sa meron mo mga existing offices na nakakapag-create ng additional position over and above the existing position na meron sila. So, pagdating po, kasi hindi nga nila nakikita na ang LGU has the Cooperative Development Program kung saan mo ilalagay yung si cooperative officer. Kaya ang tingin nila ay hindi naman siya ganun ka-importante. So ang sinasabi po namin ay ang clientele natin is already there. We're not going to create our own client. We're not going to create a new program. Parang sa amin lang pong sasamahan yung existing program, activities ng cooperative sector kasi wala silang wala silang LGU, mother, officer na mapupuntahan. Pag wala pong officer ang isang lalo na po yung probinsya, pag walang local cooperative officer o provincial cooperative officer, saan sila didirekta? Sa CDA na very limited po yung kanilang mga ano. Tinalang po natin na kung yung mga existing office na meron ng manpower, nakakapag-create ng additional position, nakakapag-upgrade ng mga existing positions, why not inclusion of this cooperative officer na meron naman talagang programa na gagawin sila and part ng development program ng locality. Thank you po.
Thank you,
Mr.
Ma'am
Chair.
Risa. Yes, Ma'am Risa, please go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I support yung kasasabi ni Ma'am Celia, and I fully support yung sinabi niyo rin kanina, Chair. Poverty alleviation, hindi lang bilang safety nets, hindi lang bilang social protection, pero poverty alleviation plus wealth creation talaga through the cooperatives movement. So pwede niyang tulungan ang buong probinsya, ang mga munisipyo, ang mga syudad to become economic powerhouses on their own. Salamat, Mr. Chair.
Well said to our Vice Chair of the Committee on Cooperatives. Yes, we have to give the cooperative movement a chance. I think this is the answer to countryside development and poverty upliftment. So, thank you, Director John Aris. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, then. Let's move towards of course, let's move to the BLGF. I think for the BLGF, I believe it's Director Quizon.
Yes,
Ma'am
Mr.
Pamela, is she
Chair.
with us? Hi, good
Mr.
morning,
Chair,
ma'am.
magandang umaga po. Magandang umaga po, Mr. Chair, Senator
Thank you, ma'am.
Subiri. Magandang umaga din po, Senator Tolentino, the Chairman of the Local Government Committee. Magandang umaga po sa lahat ng miyembro ng Subcommittee on Cooperative Officer Bills. To my fellow public servants and resource speakers, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Mr. Chair, we will officially submit our position paper, but let me express our initial position for the proposed bills. The Bureau of Local Government Finance recognizes the vital role of the cooperatives in each locality as instruments of equity, social justice, sustainable economic development in view of the Constitution. We fully understand that the proposed bills seek to make the position of cooperatives officer as mandatory in all provinces, cities, and municipalities, which would allow LGUs to effectively respond to the needs of the cooperatives in their respective areas to strengthen livelihood, welfare, economic, and social status of the less privileged members of the society. Coming from the Bureau of Local Government Finance, Mr. Chair, let me give you some numbers. Kanina po pinag-uusapan, isang official, magkano po ba ang kakainin sa budget na yan? So we made the quick statistics, Mr. Chair. Kung ang munisipyo po ay magbibigay ng salary grade 24 sa isang cooperative officer, annually po ito ay mag-a-amount sa 1,020,888. Ito po ay basic salary lamang. Kung ang isang syudad or city will create a position with a salary grade of 25. Ito po ay katumbas ng isang taon pong 1,163,820 pesos, Mr. Chair. Sa isa pong probinsya, kung ito po ay bibigyan ng salary grade na 26, ito po ay mag-a-amount sa 1.3 million pesos po annually. Again, Mr. Chair, these are basic salary. Ngayon po, Mr. Chair, kanina pa po natin napapakinggan. Hindi ko na po ulitin kung ano nakasaad under Section 325 of the Republic Act 7160. It was also mentioned of our colleague from the DBM. This is the PS limitation in each of the level of the LGU. Sa amin pong basic statistics, Mr. Chair, noong pong 2018, ilan po ba ang nag-exceed sa PS limitation? We have 10 provinces po noong 2018. We have 17 cities po noong 2018 at 537 municipalities. But again, Mr. Chair, we will be processing the data. We will officially be submitting this. Unfortunately, we have not yet processed 2019, Mr. Chair. Pero po, ito ay aming ipaprocess because we have suspended po kasi ang reporting system. But hopefully, 1 week from now, Mr. Chair, we will give you numbers for this. Sa huli po, therefore, the Bureau recommends that the LGU, kung kulang po ang kanilang pondo, seek measures to increase its local revenues in order to appropriate sufficient funds for personal services that would cover the salaries and benefits needs of the cooperative officer, and that the statutory limitations on PS or personal services shall be observed. Yun lamang po, Mr. Chair, mula sa Bureau of Local Government Finance.
Thank you, Ma'am Pamela. Thank you. And we appreciate the support you're giving to this measure. Tama po, dapat dagdagan ng local government revenue, no? Ang revenue ng local governments ang kanilang kaban. Dahil as you know, there are many ways that the local government can also raise their funds and raise additional income. Thank you for the numbers, Ma'am Pamela. I appreciate that. And
Mr. Chair.
yes, Ma'am Risa, please go ahead.
Mr. Chair, speaking of numbers po, naisip ko po tuloy na it would be good siguro for our subcommittee and the mother committee, of course, malaman ano yung share sa gross domestic product ng bansa natin. Actually, nako-contribute na ng mga cooperatives and what potentially they could further contribute sa GDP. Again, to make the point that the chair made earlier and I added to na baka value for money. Yung sweldo, 1 million plus for 1 year sa tig-isang cooperatives officer sa probinsya at sa syudad compared sa maitutulong nila sa LGU nila na ma-generate na wealth and overall sa gross domestic product ng ating bansa. Just a thought, Mr. Chair. Salamat po.
You're absolutely correct, Ma'am Risa. And what we'll do is maybe after I recognize Civil Service Commission, we'll go to the cooperative sectors now. We can ask CDA and PCC to answer that question on the contribution of GDP or cooperative sector. Maybe you now recognize sa Civil Service Commission, si Mr. Ronquillo. Director, sir, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Chair, Senator Subiri, and all the other senators present, and my fellow resource persons. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Well, on the part of the Civil Service Commission, the CSC fully supports the measure of making the mandatory the position of cooperatives officer in local government units, thereby promoting the development of cooperatives in the grassroots level to help achieve local and national economic goals. We just have some minor comments, Mr. Chair. Unang-una po, yung term na cooperative officer, we suggest gawing cooperatives officer. Kasi yung cooperative officer may just be considered as a description of the officer. Pangalawa po, nakalagay po doon sa provision, mandatory appointment. Actually, it's not the appointment that should be made mandatory, but the creation of the position. So creation of mandatory position. The appointment comes next if the position is already there. So yun yung pinag-uusapan kanina na baka ho magastos. Kung gagawin hong department level, ang cooperatives officer, magastos ho talaga yan because it will create a whole new department na maraming, of course, may mga personnel doon at maraming mga corresponding expenses. Hindi naman ho kailangan gawing department head ito. Pwede hong gawin itong section or kung talagang kailangan i-lessen yung expenses, a cooperatives officer can be just included as a personnel in a department. In other words, by doing that, isang position lang i-create at siguro hindi naman yun magiging masyadong magastos para sa isang local government unit. And finally, since this will be newly created as a mandatory position, the CSC proposes that a provision be inserted for this position should accordance with this law and law. Mr. Chair, and again, we reiterate our support to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney. Attorney, yung last point mo lang, medyo putol-putol pagpasok. What was the last point lang, Attorney? Yung last recommendation.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I said that, yes, that since this is a newly created mandatory position, we just propose that a provision be inserted that the qualification standards for this position be in accordance with civil service laws and rules. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Attorney. Salamat sa suporta from the Civil Service Commission. Thank you very much. We'll take your we'll take in serious consideration the proposed amendments that you had mentioned. Mga practical amendments din yan. Thank you. You're absolutely correct, attorney, kasi kung director level, mataas talaga ang sweldo na kailangan. Pero officership, as you said, no, it could be just the level of ano ba yan, yung section level or officer, mas mababa po yung item na ibibigay. So hindi ganun kabigat para sa LGU, lalo na sa mga municipalities na of course are 4th, 5th, and 6th class. Thank you. Thank you, attorney. Yes, may I just ask those who want to comment, what you can do is you can put in the chat, may chat group naman tayo, sino gusto mag-comment po. But yes, Ma'am Celia, please go ahead.
Yung kwenta ng magkano ba yung sa department head. Kami po talaga yung nag-research sa dito. So sir, ganito kasi, hindi naman, kung hindi mo i-create ang department, hindi kailangan na department head ng level. At hindi rin naman po makikreate ng isang position na ang kanyang salary grade ay sa department head kung wala siyang tao sa ilalim. So yun po yung resulta ng consultation namin with the civil service. Sabi nga ni sir kanina ay kung talaga ang gusto natin is somebody to fully in charge of the cooperative, kung hindi kaya ng LGU department head, so walang i-create na department. So pwede po tayong bumaba sa level ng division chief o section chief. Ang amin lang po sir proposal is sana ay malagay siya, kung hindi makikreate yung cooperative office na meron department head, sana sir, ay yung cooperative officer ay kasama ng isang departamento. Kasi no single person could ever implement a program alone. So kahit po siya yung level ng division chief, kung siya nag-iisa din naman, parang mahirap din naman po. So yun po yung aming, kung siya po ay full-fledged department, well and good. Kung hindi, ibababa siya sa level ng division chief o section chief, malagay siya sa tamang departamento at yung programa ng kooperatiba will be incorporated in the whole program of that particular department. Thank you, sir.
That's correct. Well, it could be during the implementing rules and regulations. Choice din ng LGU
can I
kung saan ilalagay.
comment on that?
Yeah, choice. Yes. Before I recognize Attorney Ronquillo, it could also be the choice of the provincial governor, the mayors, city mayors, and
Yes.
municipal mayors, where they want to put the particular officer in which department they want to attach him or section they want to attach him. Most probably, most likely, what would be good is we have trade and industry, no, trade and commerce offices. Alam ko lahat yata during the time that Bam Aquino passed this, it was the creation of the Go Negosyo Center. So may mga negosyo centers, even in Bukidnon, I see negosyo centers in the far-flung municipalities. So pwede nang ilagay sila doon para sa ganun ay they're part of the DTI's promotion on inclusive growth and livelihood development. Yes, Attorney, would you like to make one last comment?
Yes, konting comment lang, Mr. Chair. Even if we create this position as one position alone and considering the autonomy of local government units, the local chief executives will have the flexibility to put this position in any department where he sees fit na kung saan ito pwedeng mag-function effectively. Kaya hindi naman siguro mangyayari yung situation na officer siya pero wala siyang tao. It will not depend on the strategy that the local chief executive will adopt in order to make this position really functional and effective in delivering its service.
Actually, malaking panalo na sa cooperative movement pag nailagay po natin ng isang cooperative officer on all the LGUs. Yung subject to style na yan, yung ranking, kung anong position na ibibigay, I think that could be raised later on. But right now, a big major win for the cooperative movement would be to have cooperative officers in each LGU. So thank you, Attorney. I really appreciate the support of the Civil Service Commission. Anyway, as I said, hindi naman isang departamento ilalagay, hindi naman ganong karaming mga tao i-hire per LGU at municipality. Isa lamang ang gagawin nating posisyon para dito sa ating adhikain. So, if are there any other government agencies aside from the CDA? Because I will recognize the CDA next and the cooperative, of course, the stakeholders in the cooperative movement. Are there other government agencies? Because I would like to ask Berna if there are other agencies here aside from the DILG, Civil Service Commission, DBM, BLGF, League of Provinces. Are the League of Municipalities as well as the ULAP represented today, or hindi sila nakalagin?
Sir, we invited them. We sent them invites, but they are not on.
What we can do, Berna, is to ask them na lang their position papers on this particular issue and recommendations of particular amendments, no amendments to the provisions. So with that, we'd like to move to the sector that is, of course, affected by this. We'd like to first start with the government agency in charge, with the CDA. Is the chairman still there to?
Yes, yes.
Yes, Chairman Ravanera, good to see you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Morning. Good
Good to
morning.
see you,
So
Honorable
may we
Dr.
get your input on this particular measure and what is the comments of the CDA? Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Honorable Senator Mitsuberi, and my highest respect to you and to all the senators present. You know what, Mr. Senator, we have actually submitted a 5-page question paper on this. I'll just cite the highlights of the comments. The Cooperative Development Authority expresses its full support for the passage of this proposed legislation. First of all, the Cooperative Development Authority was created by virtue of the enactment of Republic Act number 6939 with a mandate to register and regulate cooperatives and to adopt and implement national development plans for cooperative development. With the enactment of Republic Act 11364, otherwise known as an act reorganizing and strengthening the Cooperative Development Authority, quasi-judicial power was included in the functions of the CDA. On the other hand, pursuant to the Local Government Code of 1991, the delivery of basic services to the public has been transferred to local government units, including the support to the development of cooperatives in their respective areas in accordance with the state policies on cooperative prescribed in RA number 11364 and RA number 9520. We believe, Mr. Chairman, that by making the appointment of cooperative officers in all local government units mandatory, cooperative promotions, organization, regulation, and development will be maximized. However, despite the mandatory appointment of cooperative officers in the LGUs, there should still be a delineation of duties and functions of the personnel of the CDA or the CDA in general in relation to that of the appointed LGU cooperative officers, especially that there should be no encroachment on the regulatory power of the CDA. Section 4 of RA 11364 provides that CDA can coordinate with the provincial, city, or municipal cooperative offices the adoption and implementation of national plans, programs, and policies on cooperative development and to establish partnership in the promotion, organization, and development of cooperatives within the jurisdiction of the LGUs. Further, Mr. Chairman, Section 4 on the SID law provides that cooperative development offices may also be requested by the authority in the inspection and examination of cooperatives. In this connection, Mr. Chairman, we believe that Section 484C of the proposed legislations, which states that exercise such other powers and perform such other duties and functions as may be prescribed by law or ordinance, is too broad, as it may has a tendency of encroaching upon the exclusive regulatory power of the CDA, considering that the appointment of an LGU officer will become mandatory unless the same relates only to the latter's prescribed functions under Section 484B of the Development of Cooperatives. Excuse me. For this purpose, we emphasize the following respective functions of CD and LGU as enunciated in Executive Order number 96 dated June 8, 1993. Anyway, Mr. Chairman, we'll submit to you the 5-page report. And lastly, I would like to state, Mr. Chairman, that we have cooperatives scattered throughout the country in all provinces, in all municipalities, cities, based on our data, in 85% of the total barangays in the country, Mr. Chairman. And considering our manpower, we're only somewhere about 700 person also. We cannot really cover all of these areas, Mr. Chairman. So while it is stated in Republic Act 7160 that LGUs are mandated by law to advance cooperativism in their respective territorial jurisdiction, but it just so happened that it is just put that the appointment is optional. This time, Mr. Chairman, we salute you because this time it will really scale the heights of cooperative development in this country. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, on the issue on Section 4, I believe my proposal together with the other senators are quite simple man lang. It's just really the amendment to make it from optional to mandatory. So yes, we'll look at your amendments. It's very difficult at this point in time to amend
Yes.
more of the local government code kasi alam mo naman, pag mag-amend tayo ng local government code, hindi talaga napapasa dahil sa daming amendments, nagkakagulo-gulo. So what we're trying to do is to keep it simple and just really put the word these simple amendments to the local government code on the creation of the officer position for cooperatives. But we are appreciative of your comments and suggestions. And during, of course, the technical working group, which we will create right after this hearing. Of course, the CDA will be aptly represented. Thank you, Chairman. Salamat.
Yeah, Senator Mix, no, earlier there was this query from the Honorable Senator Pia about the contribution of the cooperatives to the GDP. Based on our data, we can, if you want, I can have some time to express the answer to that, if I may. But nevertheless,
But before we get a violent reaction from Senator Risa, she's Senator Risa and not Senator Pia. Ha?
sorry.
Daghang salamat, Mr. Chair.
I saw her reaction.
Kapatid ko po yun.
I know, I sometimes make that mistake on the floor and I get a violent reaction from the dear senator.
I'm sorry, Honorable Senator Risa, I'm sorry. Pero
Yes,
anyway,
could you please comment on that, on the
about
GDP?
that, I just would
Yes.
like to bring to your attention, Honorable Senator, that last year po, nakipakita sa atin, knowledge Dan, the head of the Overseas Research Committee of the United States Agency for International Development, headed by Dr. Judith Hermanson. Maganda po ang report nila. Ang sabi po nila, where there are cooperatives, the quality of life in that community is better. And the cooperative members are enjoying a better economic life than the non-members. And that the cooperative are actually enjoying greater resiliency than those who are not members. And so along that line, I would like to report that based on our data, sa employment po, the total jobs generated directly by the cooperative would reach about 513,200 jobs po. Yun po ang number of personnel hired by the 18,581 cooperatives of the country. Indirectly generated jobs, Mr. Chairman, would reach about 2.5 million jobs already. Ito po yung ating data. And overall po, ang kanilang total contribution is about 512 591 million with a total net surplus of about 21 billion 927 million. So more or less po, it's about 10 to 12% of the GDP po. Yun ang aming nakita based on the PSA statistics po. So that's how, kaya nga tinatawag nila, well, you are our champion, Mr. Senator, ang kwento talaga nila, the cooperatives are the engine of growth in the country, and thus they are actually putting those in the margins into the mainstream of development processes. Yun po talaga ang kwan. And so yun po ang kwan, and this was reinforced, Mr. Senator, Mr. Chairman, yung nangyari ngayong during this time of pandemic, the spirit of service, compassion, and love is the light that shines through during the darkness of COVID-19. Yun po ang ma-report namin.
Thank you, Chairman. Are you satisfied, Ma'am Risa? You may ask if you want to expound.
No question naman, Mr. Chair, pero gusto ko lang i-appreciate yung inputs ng CDA sa committee natin. Kasi imagine, Chair, no, kung 10 to 12% na ng GDP ang kino-contribute ng mga co-op sa Pilipinas, current level of strength, and given na hindi pa na-max out yung suporta na pwedeng ibigay ng gobyerno sa kanila, what more if those supports could be expanded, including through yung mga bills natin on the mandatory nature of the cooperatives officer in the LGUs. Kanina rin po sinabi ni Sir Ravanera na ayon nga daw sa USAID, 1.3 billion na ang relief na naibigay nila in cash. And of course, Mr. Chair, this is just the reported. Baka may unreported pa. At meron na daw silang 434 million in kind. Again, reported lang. Itong lahat, total of about 1.7 billion, yung relief nila sa ating mga kababayan sa gitna nitong health at saka economic crisis. Nakakatuwa talaga, Mr. Chair, na ang CDA ay patuloy na naglilista, na document ng iba't ibang inisyatiba sa ilalim ng co-ops against COVID-19. Na tingin ko mahalaga, hindi lang para against that backdrop, tignan natin kung ano pa yung benefit ng pagkakaroon ng cooperatives officer. Pero kaugnay din ng ibang mga bills na titignan natin kahit sa inyong co-ops, Committee on Co-ops, Mr. Chair, kasi talagang dapat nating kilalanin at gawing visible ang kontribusyon ng mga kooperatiba sa gitna ng pandemya. And even moving forward, when we continue our work in Congress, in both houses, on the relief bill, and later on the economic, on the stimulus package bills, na timbangin natin against those itong mga significant contributions na naibibigay na ng co-ops dito sa ating bansa. And lastly, moving even further forward than that, Mr. Chair, pag tiningnan natin paano talaga natin ilalagay front and center yung mga kooperatiba and the whole cooperatives movement sa sinasabing new normal ng ating ekonomiya at ng ating bansa. Salamat, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ma'am Risa. Thank you so much. Okay, moving forward to the cooperative movements, let us recognize. We'll start off with the PCC. Nakita ko yung ating mga kababayan at kapatid sa PCC. Are they here with us today? PCC is not here. Okay. So, who would you like to start? Well, of course, we'll start off with our champion for cooperative education, my palangga, Professor Ellen. Ma'am, good morning. Good to see you again. May you give us your comments on this measure, ma'am?
Actually, fully support. The COP sector fully support the creation, the bill, creating the position of cooperative development officer as mandatory in local government units. Now, in our observation in the countryside and in the city side, the cooperative movement is more active. If there is the cooperative development office is actually created, and there is a co-op development officer. Now, as far as the bill is concerned, now I'd like to make some proposals on the functions of the CDO. I think it is actually they are only their concern is more on the registered cooperatives with the Cooperative Development Authority. What about those groups that would like to organize cooperatives that may not be given the attention or the assistance by CDA? And it is a local group. So I think they will also have to have a function of providing assistance in organizing of cooperatives within the community or in the local government, in the local areas, that will enhance the sustainable economic and social development of the community. Because, there are barangays or there are groups of people in a community or in a municipality or city that would like to organize cooperatives, and the local cooperative development office, city or municipal cooperative development officer, would be in a position to assist them because it isn't a local matter. Okay, so they know the the needs of these constituents of that municipality or city. Secondly, I think there are organizations within the municipality or municipality or province that can be partners of the cooperative development officer. Since we're not creating an office that will is a full-blown office, it's only a cooperative development officer, one-man staff. Therefore, this cooperative development office must have a partner, and this could be a function of that officer to establish partnership with the local cooperative union or federation in implementing plans and programs, local cooperative development programs and projects. Now, that is actually, these are two proposals that will be part of the functions of the cooperative development officer. On the qualifications, of course, there are qualifications, the standard qualifications according to the Civil Service Commission. Now, since we are already offering cooperative in the SUCs as far as RA 11364 is concerned, that cooperatives will be mandated in the the different courses, and that SUCs may offer cooperatives as a major course. That the preferably a degree on cooperatives or business administration with cooperative development training. So let's be specific that the course that the degree of a cooperative development officer could be cooperatives. This actually will encourage local the students or the students to get a course in cooperatives and be part of the local government, city or municipality as far as development of cooperative is concerned. Now these are the proposals, and then in the last part there is partnership with the cooperative sector as far as planning, as far as the cooperative development plan. I suggest that it's not only the cooperative sector, can we insert and the academe because they can be part of course, as far as research is concerned, as far as preparing materials, as far as preparing books and materials for cooperative development or for cooperatives is concerned. The academe can assist actually the local government as far as the local government in cooperatives. So these are our proposals as far as the bill is concerned, Mr. Senator, the Chair. Mr.
Yes,
Chair.
thank you very much po.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you very
these
much
are
for your
proposals. So I hope that this can be considered as far as the development of the final draft of the bill is concerned. Thank you, Mr. Senator. Hello, Mr. Senator Risa and Senator Aimee. Thank you very much for considering our proposal.
Thank you very much. We'd like to thank you, Prof. Of course, you'll be part of our technical working group as always. We're going to ask you to join us in this. Thank you. Of course, we have in line also to join us, and I recognize their names already, para at least meron po tayong order. Si Ma'am Josie Salomon, of course, we will ask her to. Of course, Annabelle Uy, Ma'am Annabelle, your comment on this. Josie Salomon, ladies first, of course, and Mr. Robert Mascarina will be the lineup, no, for their remarks.
Mr. Chair,
And also we will have for NATCO, we have just Dado Luna after Mr. Mascarina. Yes, Ma'am Risa?
Mr. Chair, if I may, very briefly lang, I missed to bring this up earlier nung tinawag nyo yung PCC. So just for the record, and baka our next resource persons might want to reflect on this, yung Philippine Cooperative Center sa isang discussion tungkol sa Economic Recovery Program in relation to COVID-19, they had several recommendations. I just like to put two on the record. One was, sabi nila, leverage cooperative structures for economic recovery programs by treating cooperatives as a distinct class. And then pangalawa, use cooperatives as direct and active conduits of state economic recovery programs. So just for baka maging useful in the discussion moving forward, Mr. Chair, dahil nabanggit na yung participation ng co-ops even now sa COVID relief, and then moving forward potentially sa post-COVID recovery. Salamat kayo, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ma'am Risa. Thank you. So let's start. Ma'am Annabelle, would you like to weigh in on the topic, and then we'll proceed to the other members. Ma'am, ano po kayo, ma'am? Mute. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And good morning po ulit sa lahat. Ang position po ng TAGCODEC on the bill is, of course, TAGCODEC is very supportive of it. Lalo na't before pa po ay kasama na po tayo lagi sa pagbalangkas nung batas na ito. And tama po din yung comment na creation of mandatory position po ang pinag-uusapan natin, but not the creation of the department itself. So isang position lang po yung pinag-uusapan, baka hindi naman po magiging ganun kahirap para po sa ating mga city, municipality, and the provinces. Pagdating po kasi sa performance level of the cooperatives, napakaganda po kapag merong partnership talaga yung LGU, the cooperative sector, and of course the CDA. But then there really is still a need of somebody to focus on the affairs of the cooperatives, lalong-lalo na po in times of disaster. Kasi isa po yun sa mga nagiging problema ng co-op members natin na nagkakaroon po ng difficulty sila to access on the assistance para po sa cooperative sector. So, kung meron pong cooperative officer to attend to their affairs, madali po nating maa-address yung concerns ng ating cooperatives. And also the economic development and growth of our cooperative ay mas mamomonitor po. Gaya nga po nung na-mention po kanina, doon sa particularly sa Kamsur kasi nabanggit po kanina. So without the assistance of the CDA and the LGU itself, hindi po yun magpo-prosper. And kahit na nga po nandun na si LGU, nandun na si CDA, nandun na din po tayo as part of the training provider, still may kulang pa din po kasi walang nagpo-focus para po doon sa ibang mga concerns pa ng cooperatives na ito. With regards naman po sa education, tama po yung nabanggit ni Ma'am Ellen kanina, we are always working on the education side. Tama po na isama natin siguro ang academe kasi po meron po tayong fifth principle ng the cooperative that is continuous education and training. So kailangan po nandun yung academe kasi isa yan sa difficulty dinadanas ko din po personally sa pagbalangkas nung training course for the cooperative on the competency level po pagdating sa TESDA courses. So yun lang naman po ang point namin for the bill, supportive kami, and some inclusions po, kagaya nung na-mention na ng iba. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Next in line to ask to comment is also from our cooperative movement, Paranaque Cooperative Development Officer, Ma'am Josie Salomon. Ma'am, please, you may proceed.
Good morning po, Senator. Of course, to our honorable senators and sa lahat po na present today, isang magandang umaga po. We in the local government unit and also representing the Metro Manila Cooperative Development Officers, we strongly support po the amendments in our local government code na from optional ay maging mandatory po ang creation or appointment of cooperative development officers in the provincial, city, and municipal level. Sa kasalukuyan po sa ating pong National Capital Region, we have 17 cities and 1 municipality. At para po sa inyong kaalaman ay 2 pong cities ang sa kasalukuyan ay wala pa pong cooperative development officer. Yan po ay sa Las Piñas City at sa Pateros po. Though other cities po ay may mga CDOs na rin po pero hindi po ganun ka-strong. No, inappoint po nila as a cooperative development officer or nagpa-function siya as CDO pero meron pa pong other assignment. So wala po yung focus talaga sa cooperative development. Pero po yung amendments po na sinusuportahan po ng LGUs, ng MEMACDU po ay malaking step na po ito sa atin pong cooperative development simply because siguro ito po yung malaking step na para sa mga
local chief executive natin na makita po yung importance ng cooperative development sa kanila pong mga respective cities and municipalities. We in Parañaque po ay 1991 pa po kami merong Cooperative Development Office, although in 1991 naka-incorporate po ito sa livelihood office sa isang department. Isang maliit na section lang po kami, pero sa leadership po ng ating Honorable Mayor Edwin Olivares in 2014 ay na-institutionalize po at naging isang departamento na po ang Cooperative Development Office. At katulad po ng nakikita natin, sabi po ng civil service talagang and also the DBM ay medyo magkakaroon po ng karagdagang expenditure pagdating po sa budget. Pero po yung contribution po na naibibigay ng ating cooperative development, though we have our CDA po na malalapitan, malaki po kasi yung role ng atin pong LGU kasi mas kami po yung nakakaalam ng problema ng ating mga constituents. So pagdating po sa promotion and organization ng mga kooperatiba ay malaki po yung naitutulong kapag meron po talagang cooperative development office, no? At lalong-lalo na po pagdating sa mga development of cooperatives ay mas malaki po yung naitutulong namin kasi katulad ng nasabi ni Ma'am Celia Atienza, we have cooperative development authority but they have limited personnel na talaga pong tututok doon po sa need ng mga cooperative. So kami po sa MEMACTO, sa LGU ay nagpapasalamat po doon po sa amendments na gagawin po ng ating mga honorable senators and we strongly support po yung inyo pong action dito. So yun lang po at maraming salamat.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Next on the line is next in line to ask questions is from the Barangka Credit Cooperatives, Sir Robert Mascariña. Sir, please.
Good morning, honorable senators sa subcommittee at sa mga cooperative leaders, CDA. Isang mapagpalang umaga po. I am speaking as a player in the community. I organize our cooperative, Barangka Credit Cooperative, from institution to community. We started at 5,000. As of now, we have 1.4 billion. Pero yung problema ng sektor, more than 100 years na hindi ito umuunlad kasi yung kakulangan nga natin ng magpo-focus dito sa community. Paano yung maliliit? Paano saan kami pupunta? Yung maliliit, we have about 40, more than 40 primaries, yung gustong mag-organize. So nahihirapan na maghanap ng lalapitan sa ating LGU. So ako ay nagpapasalamat sa committee na nagpupus nito na maging permanent ang ating officer sa LGU. Bakit permanent? Kasi po kapag ito ay kukunin lang kung saan sang departamento or division, ang nangyayari ho ay hindi nakaka-focus. As mentioned by mga nauna nang nagsalita, talaga pong nawawala yung focus. Kapag election, lisensya o pag nabago yung leadership at yung leadership mo naman, yung LGU mo ay hindi familiar sa cooperative. Ito yung malaking problema namin sa city. Kapag ang na-elect ay hindi familiar sa cooperative, naiiwan ang cooperative kasi iba nga yung focus nila. I think po yung sweldo naman na isa lang compared sa naitutulong ng cooperative as mentioned by Chairman Rabanera, 12% at more than 500 employees ang may kukontribute. Eh, palagay po naman ito'y panahon na ito ay maipasa at magkaroon na tayo ng permanenting officer na siyang magtatakbuhan. Titingin sa bawat primarya na nasa city o nasa provincial na para mapaunlad yung mga cooperative na maliliit, lalo na po yung maliliit at kulang sa kanilang mga financial support. Tungkol naman sa pagtulong, ang mga cooperative din po sa community or sa municipality, hindi nyo na kailangan kami ay tanungin. Nandyan po ang cooperative. Ang problema lang namin sa city or municipality, kanino namin ibabato pagdating sa LGU. Kung kami ay may officer doon, lahat ng aming mga ginagawa o gagawain ay may focus namin sa isa at yun ang maibibigay naming support dito sa mga nangyayaring kalamidad sa atin, katulad ng nangyari dito sa Taal. Andiyan yung PCC. Through our PCC, dinala namin yung aming mga tulong at yun ay naging malaking bahagi sa pagtulong dito sa mga nangangailangan nating mga kababayan. So maliit lang po yung isa na empleyado na susweldohan natin. Na ito naman po ay malaki ang may tutulong sa atin. So with the help po ng aming mimakdo ni Ma'am Atienza, nakakatuwa ho na last year lang kami nagkaroon na-approve yung aming officer. Kanya lang ang problema pa namin ay yung office namin na sinasabi nga namin at saka yung budget. So we push na ito ay maaprubahan at ang isang kahit naman sa pulis kailangan may tao siya, hindi lang yung driver Pag may driver ka, may kasama kang isa para ikaw ay may katuwang. So dito rin kailangan din namin ng support kahit na isa o dalawa bukod sa officer. Para siya naman yung makakatuwang ng mga cooperative na siyang pupuntahan. Day-to-day transaction ito. Hindi ito yung kung kailan lang maisipan ng mga LGU natin at saka tayo kakalabitin. Ito kahit yung ating mga LGU ay ito nga kulang pa rin ang kaalaman ng karamihan ng LGUs natin na nagiging problema ng mga cooperative. So sana sa trainings, as mentioned by ng ating educators, na dapat ma-train din natin ang mga LGU kung ano yung cooperative na nasa kanilang mga lugar. At sa totoo lang may mga entrepreneur o mga business training na ginagawa sa local na pagkatapos nito na ma-train nila, hindi na nila alam kung saan dadalahin yung mga nakatapos ng business entrepreneur. Kaya diyan dapat papasok ang cooperative. Magkakatuwang-tuwa ang ating mga LGU at CDA at itong ating sektor. Nakakatuwa nga, binanggit din ni Chairman Atienza, Celia, na si DILG Secretary naglabas noong January 2019 na suportahan itong maging permanente yung ating CDO sa bawat municipality. So, ang hiling natin, maging permanente ito. At sana ay matupad na ito, lalo ngayong panahon ng pandemic ay dito ito matupad sa tulong ng mga senator na kahit na ganito tayo ay nandito tayo at nag-uusap. Salamat po sa mga time ninyo na ito ay maipasasana para maging nasa kasaysayan natin na ito ay inaprubahan sa panahon ng pandemic para ang cooperative na 100 years, more than 100 years na ay ito. Kung nakatulong kami ng ganito ng 12% ay siguro with the full support nito na maging permanente na hindi nahihilahin ng kung saan hindi makakapokus ang ating officer sa bawat city, municipality, siguro naman po wala nang dahilan para hindi umunlad ang ating cooperative. Thank you po, Mr. Senator, Chairman Siberi. Salamat po sa inyong support sa akin.
Salamat po, Sir Robert. Maraming salamat sa mga inputs ninyo po. And kami natutuwa na meron na talaga kayong officer dyan sa Marikina. Marikina po, no? Ang inyong kooperatiba. Tama. So, susunod na po ay si Mr. Diosdado Luna of NATCO. Sir, Mr. Luna, please proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Senator Hontiveros, and all the other senators for supporting cooperatives and for this opportunity for NATCO to give our inputs. So the NATCO is a confederation of 842 cooperatives all over the country with combined membership of 5.9 million individual members, and 63% are women. So marami pong kababaihan. And we totally support this undertaking. This bill will definitely ensure the development of cooperatives in the local level, of course, subject to funding capacity of local governments. But we believe that whatever challenges, challenges that the local governments will experience, it will have big returns in terms of community and economic development. The CDA, although they're doing a very good job, they have limited budget and personnel. So if this bill becomes law, it will be a big boost to cooperative development. So we advocate that cooperatives are the key to rural development and national development based on economic models all over the world in other countries. So cooperatives give yung ordinaryong tao, they get a stake in the economy. And so on behalf of the 842 cooperatives of the National Confederation of Cooperatives, we would like to thank the senators who have pushed for this bill to push involvement and participation of cooperatives in nation building. Thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you very much, sir, Mr. Luna. And anyone else who would like to give additional comments before we, I wish I could feed all of you. And usually when we have a committee hearing in the Senate, we feed lunch. Although now, since we are doing virtual sessions, I can no longer feed you lunch. It's a bit cheaper, I think, for the expenses. Buti pa si Ma'am Berna. Tingnan mo si Berna Comsec natin, may ube pandesal. Ako'y nasa farm at walang pagkain dito. I have to harvest it pa from the trees. But so anyone else would like to weigh in and give further comments before we suspend the hearing and move towards a technical working group? If there are no more, no other
Senator,
comments,
last lang po.
Ma'am Celia, please go ahead.
Pasensya na po kayo, emote po talaga ako dahil galing ako sa LGUs. Isa ako sa mga LGU and actually wala naman po kaming problema in Batangas. Pero kami po yung nagpo-frontliner to advocate sa mga LCS. Kaya nga po kanina nabanggit ni Sir Robert, kasi kami po talaga yung naglabi kay Mayor para ma-create yung cooperative office na although merong ordinance na nilabas for its creation, hindi pa po napipinapan yung position properly. At sa aking kaliga from NCR, for the information po ng mga kasama natin dito, out of 82 provinces po, siguro po with the exemption of our, ang full-fledged cooperative department po ay 26 lang. Sa NCR, I may stand corrected by Josie, 17 LGU sa NCR, 8 yung appointed, full-fledged yung cooperative office. So pag tinignan ko yung napakaliit, we wish to believe na kahit nga po wala nitong provision na to, kung yung sa LCS lang natin, ay yung local autonomy ba, ay napapractice nila, ay na-adapt po nila, is baka nga po wala ganitong usapin. So yung ano lang po namin ay, hindi lang po pinag-uusapan dito is budgetary requirement ng position. Siyempre po, pag may departamento, may opisina o may taong hahawak, may programa at mga project may implement. So kasama rin po dyan, edi yung corresponding budget for the program, for the expenses of program na i-implement ng officer o ng opisina. So yung po sana yung gusto namin mapakita at yung po 20, we have direct contact po doon sa 26 provinces na merong full-fledged department. Ang Liga po, Senator, parang namimpresinta po kami, gusto po namin mag-input para makita po ninyo yung iba-ibang setup na meron pong full-fledged department na full man talaga. Kami nga po is Provincial Cooperative Livelihood and Enterprise Development Office. In Cavite, we have the Provincial Cooperative and Entrepreneurial Development Office. In Albay, meron po kami Cooperative and Employment Services Office. So parang magkakaiba po yung yung feature. Pero binitbit na po yung concern ng COP. Sa NCR, nag-enterprise development na rin ang mga yan. Kasi nga po, pasok kami dun sa micro and small medium enterprises. Sa malalaking cooperative po, hindi lahat ng kooperatiba ay magiging kliyente ng LGUs. We're so happy po na we have the federation, the union, the PCC, na yan po naman ay mga kapartner ng mga LGU sa development ng maliliit na co-op. Ang target po natin ay ma-develop ang mga primary co-op. Our target is not to organize bagong co-op. Kasi ang dami pong maliliit na co-op na ang kailangan po isuporta para naman sila ay makatake off. So po namin concern is, sana yung cooperative organization is not for compliance. With due respect with PUB modernization, para pong kailangan you are either sa transport group, you're either registered with SEC or with CDA. So nakukuha po sila sa CDA, nawawala na po yung real principle and practices ng co-op kasi ang gusto lang nila ay ma-organize sila bilang kooperatiba kasi yun ang kailangan para sa praktisa. Sana maisama po natin sa mga consideration and calling with the CBA. Doon sa consideration na sana hindi tayo for the heck of compliance lang. Kahit konti ang kooperatiba, kung yan naman ay malakas, kagaya ng barangka, multipurpose cooperative. Kami, mayabang po kami sa SIDSI. Ano Ben, dati, nasa agap ka. So yun po sana yung mga direction. Plus, sabi ko nga po, ulitin ko lang, meron pong memo circular, joint memo circular ang DILG at CDA na magpapalakas po dun sa promotion ng cooperative organization and development sa LGU. At sa CDA po, kasama po sa mandato nila yung partnership and collaboration with the local government units. And sa IRR po, inaisama ng maliwanag doon ano yung pwedeng maging option ng mga LGUs para ma-establish po yung kanilang mga offices at makapag-implement ang program. Sa dami po ng inisyatibo in the past, Senator Mix, maraming salamat po. We do hope na yung pamumuti ninyo ng buhok ay hindi po dahil ng cooperative sector. At kaya po kami natutuwa, parang kami so positive. Kasi in this hearing, kasama kami dun sa committee, dun sa DILG. Tapos si Ma'am Risa, huwag kayo mag-alala Ma'am Risa in Batangas, fully supported po namin ang women sector. At yun po, isa sa priority yung cooperative sector ng women. Not for compliance, but for the purpose of strengthening the women sector. Maraming salamat po, Senator. Patubayan po tayo ng Pongay Kapal. And let's all stay safe.
Thank you, Ma'am Celia. Alam mo, namuti yung buko dahil sa COVID, kaya huwag kayo mahawa sa COVID, ha? Pag mag-COVID kayo, mamumuti yung buko niyo. Buti lang puti kaysa mawawala ng buhok, kaya okay na lang. Okay na rin. Pero thank you very much, Ma'am Celia. So before I suspend session, I would just like to thank our resource persons. Of course, our colleagues muna, my Vice Chair of the Committee on Cooperatives, Ma'am Risa, thank you so much. Thank you for always attending. You are another champion. You're also another champion of the co-op sector. And we have also, of course, we would like to thank Senator Bato de la Rosa, our chairperson in the Mother Committee, Senator Francis Tol Tolentino, and we had also earlier Senator Amy Marcos. And of course, to the government agencies, we'll start with my good friend, Undersecretary RJ Echeverry. Maraming salamat, RJ, for attending today. You stayed all the way, so salamat na marami. And my best to Secretary Anyo. And of course, to the CDA, the officers of the CDA, Undersecretary Orlando Ravanera. Thank you for attending, Chairman, together with your members and the Executive Board. We also would like to thank the members of the DBM, Director Aris Makaspak was with us earlier. We'd also like to thank Head of the Bureau or Director Pamela Quizon of the Bureau of Local Government and Finance. Of course, the Civil Service Commission, si Attorney Ariel Ronquillo, thank you for attending. Of course, the League of Provinces of the Philippines, she's representing Governor Presby Velasco. No other than Ma'am Angelica with us, ma'am, together with the cooperative movements that are here. Ma'am Ellen, of course, of the Federation of Cooperatives, CODIS, Federation of Cooperatives. Earlier, si Sir Robert Mascariña. We have also with us Ma'am Celia Atienza, of course, our Liga ng Cooperative Development Officers of the Philippines. Ma'am Celia, always nice to see you. Mukhang matutuloy na po ang pangarap ninyo na magkaroon ng permanent positions. And of course, Ma'am Josie Salomon and sa taga Si Ma'am Annabel also was with us. Of course, with us, Tagkodek. Wala po dito kanina present si Ma'am Annabel nga, ang representative. Sino pang missing? Anatko, of course, Mr. Luna. Thank you for joining us. If I failed to mention your names, my apologies. Gutom na tayong lahat. And again, no, I'd like to wish everybody to continue to stay safe and healthy. Alam mo, yung problema natin na yan ay COVID-19. Nandyan pa si Mr. COVID sa sulok-sulok lang, sa tabi-tabi. At sana wag po kayo mahawaan. Stay safe and healthy. So with that, I'd like to make a formal motion, hopefully seconded by Ma'am Risa, that we now convene the technical working group. And we would like to ask the staff of Ma'am Risa to help my staff as well, together with the stakeholders that were here today, first members of the DILG, Civil Service Commission, of course, BLGF, and all the stakeholders that attended be made part of the technical working group this morning. Of course, the DBM, very important. We have to get the inputs as well. So, yun lamang po.
Second the motion,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, and of course, my staff will work with the chair staff.
Thank you very much. And then hopefully we'll come up already with the committee report, and then we can already sponsor this the soonest possible time in the plenary. So with that, mabuhay po ang cooperative movement. Remember, these are Filipinos helping the Filipinos help themselves, and let's continue to move forward with this particular measure. Maraming salamat din sa Secretariat. Ma'am Berna, thank you. And to all the stenographers and members of the Senate, Archie, and all those members of the Senate staff, Dave Torres, head of my legis, thank you once again. So sa cooperative movement, mabuhay po kayong lahat. And my co-fellow workers of government, maraming salamat. God bless you all. This meeting is now hereby well, we don't need to, Ma'am Risa, I don't think we need to suspend. I don't think we need to have another hearing. I think we've discussed this extensively. I will now adjourn the meeting and proceed na with the technical working group. So this meeting is hereby adjourned and proceed to the technical working group. Maraming salamat po sa inyo lahat. God bless you all.
God bless you, Chair. Daghang salamat.
Salamat.
Thank you very much, Senator